Hello and welcome to another Who Corner to Corner podcast. My name's Jeff and this is Paul, and is that right?
Yes, hello, I'm Paul.
No, you're not Paul. I'm Paul. No, wait. Oh, hold on. That didn't work.
Was that not what you were meant to be doing?
No, it's fine. Why'd you do the voice? What's with the voice?
I don't know.
I don't know what that was. Let's do it again.
No, leave it. It's good.
Yeah, but then the joke doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
Right, hold on. Let's do this, right? Welcome to another Who Corner to Corner podcast. My name, as always, is Jeff, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend Paul. Hi, Paul. How are you?
Oh, I'm very good, thanks, Chumbly.
Who's Chumbly? Now what are you doing? What's that? Who the hell is... What is Chumbly?
Isn't that what you say?
No, I never say that.
Oh, right, okay.
I never say Chumbly. I mean, that's ridiculous. Right, anyway, enough of this nonsense. It clearly isn't going to work. I had a brilliant idea, but no.
I don't know what I'm meant to be doing.
To be fair, I did say go with it, didn't I? And you did,
yeah,
so that's all fine.
Go, no.
Okay, never mind. Anyway, welcome, dear listeners and viewers, to another Who Corners Corner podcast. I'm actually Paul, and he is Jeff. I just thought it might be fun to kind of swap our names around. But there you go. So my idea of fun is not Jeff's idea of fun. So that's all fine. It's good. It's good. You know, these differences are what define us. Anyway, enough of that. So we are going to be looking at, in this very special episode, the anniversary stories of Doctor Who, which I've been looking forward to for ages because I love these stories. There aren't a huge amount of them. There's only a few because, you know, it's not every day that we get an anniversary. It has to be something special.
Yeah.
If there was too many of them, where would the speciality be? Where would the fun, the excitement, the kind of the energy and verve that comes with an anniversary, where would it all go? Just be frittered away into a black hole at the edge of the Arc of Infinity, or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
I think the big numbers, 50, 60, they're worth celebrating.
Big
and
numbers.
We had a 25th, as well. But there was talk a little while ago. There needs to be a 10 years since Who returned anniversary. Really?
But well, I don't know. Why not? Really? Because I mean that was quite a moment. That was when a whole new generation of fans jumped on board for the first time.
But why not? It's because it falls on a random year that means nothing.
10 years since it started up again.
Well, we've missed it now anyway. So.
But it's been and gone.
Yeah,
so
too late.
Nobody did anything about it. It's too late. The opportunity has passed us by. But of course, way back in the 70s, of course, in 1973, we got the three Doctors.
Yep.
Did we not? With which saw the first three Doctors kind of uniting for the first time ever. It's the first time we'd ever had multiple Doctors in one story.
I wonder what it was like at the time. I'm thinking it was like the Avengers Endgame of Doctor Who at the time.
Except without Avengers. And there was no Avengers. So basically what you're saying, Jeff, is that Avengers Endgame is very much like the three Doctors from 1972. Because actually it was 1972. I'll tell you, it wasn't 1973 at all. You would think that it being 10 years on, it would be November 1973. Yeah. But it was actually broadcast in December 1972 as part of the 10th anniversary season.
So that actually ended up becoming the 9th anniversary.
No, but it was the 10th season from the first one, right? So it kind of still works if you squint a little bit.
Yeah, okay. So I see there's some rule bending going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the Pertwee era that we're talking about, right? So there's obviously this huge disparity between when that actually happened. Was it the 70s? Was it the 80s? Or was it some parallel thing that we just don't know about? So, to be honest, the fact that the 10th anniversary was first broadcast in, 30th of December 1972 makes perfect sense. Perfect.
Yep. Okay.
And it's a great story, but yes, you're right. What would viewers have thought back in the day?
Because I imagine that you'd have you'd have probably been aware of the three of them at that point.
Yes,
and but maybe wouldn't have seen First Doctor stuff depending on how old you were and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But that must have been a real thrill to see them all get together for that first time like that, and then kind of set that precedent, going forward, to have them again.
It must have been. I remember. I was around, but I was very, very tiny. So I definitely wouldn't have seen it on its first transmission. This was another one that I saw first on the Five Faces of Doctor Who in 1981 that we were talking about last time. When I first saw An Unearthly Child. But I'd read the novel of this because I'd seen it in my library where I used to source my Target books, especially grab them, loan them, rent them out, whatever it is you do in libraries, right? And I read it, and it was one that had the cover of the Chris Achilleos cover with the fingers of like Doctor Doom fingers, was it? Because it's ripped. Actually, I'm going on at you for knocking on Avengers Endgame, but it did come from a Fantastic Four cover.
Yeah, if it was
I
Doom,
believe the
probably,
original with the fingers and looking down at the three Doctors with their faces in the bottom in little, sort of arranged under the fingers.
Yeah,
I believe. So actually, I'll kind of take it back. So
eat that.
But that's the book. That's not the actual TV show. The TV show itself was written by Bob Baker and Dave Martin. At least the initial draft was, and they got credit for it on screen. But I think most of it is probably written by Terence Dicks, script editor of the time, with Barry Letts on the side as well, as kind of between them the two kind of sort of if you join Barry Letts and Terence Dicks together, then you've got a showrunner, haven't you? Really, you got
Let's Dicks.
The Godfathers of 1970s.
Where's our friend
Doctor
Joe
Who.
Ford?
But yeah, it must have been special. I mean, I
Joe.
loved it. I loved reading the book. I thought it was great. I mean, it's a total conceit. First time we really properly see. Well, we see a lot more of Gallifrey in the Three Doctors. We're introduced to Omega, who is a figure from Doctor Who's past. We'd never heard of him before. We learned that the Time Lord's energy is kind of powered by this black hole, which is going a little bit awry in the deep dark depths of the cosmos and causing all kinds of turmoil and trouble on Gallifrey itself. And in order to kind of help things out, the Time Lords pull out the Doctor from an earlier part of his timeline. They first pull him, the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton, and there's this brilliant moment where you just have like it could go on for longer. It doesn't go on long enough really, but the banter, the conflict between the third Doctor, the dandy, and the clown, the second Doctor, is just brilliant. Remember when we spoke to Chris Chibnall about this, he cited that as one of his favourite moments in all of Doctor Who, and it is just magical. It's just golden. The fact that the same person doesn't get along with himself from an earlier age is just brilliant. I love that. It's totally the Doctor. Both Troughton and Pertwee's Doctors are both full of themselves, right? They are the cleverest people in the room. So clever, they can't be outdone by an earlier or a future version of themselves. So nothing gets done at all, ever. It's just brilliant. It's like a marketing meeting, right? Nothing gets done. Everybody wants to pitch in with their ideas, but they do very little. So it takes the authoritative influence of the first Doctor to kind of bring the other two into shape and to actually start being a bit more proactive, which for me is brilliant because the first Doctor, the original, Hartnell was there. It was his final appearance in Doctor Who. I think he was really ill at the time, so they had to have him in a little.
That's why he's on the screen
studio on his own
thing, isn't he? Yeah.
He only appears in the TV scanner.
What's the excuse in the story? The transmat or something's gone wrong, hasn't it? And
it's gone wrong. It hasn't quite worked. So he's kind of stuck in this place, and he kind of needs the other two to pull it together and not only help the Time Lords and save the universe, but also get himself out of this ridiculous place as well. So, and this actually, I think, is possibly why a lot of people's first impressions of the first Doctor are that he's a grumpy old man, because he does play it that way in the Three Doctors. He's really annoyed that he's there. Hartnell is clearly quite ill, so he's having some trouble with his lines, and it's quite short. His lines are quite short and they're very direct, and it is about whipping the other two into doing something proactive and getting on with the job, basically.
Yeah, I think it worked fine. Having him like that, and it's a bit like in Five Doctors where Tom wouldn't appear, so they cannily used bits of Sharda and incorporated him into the narrative like that, and fair credit to them for working with difficult situations and making it work for them and the the show, and like you can watch it all, I think, and it works even if you're aware of why it's what it is. I was going to say as well, I love the design on Omega's helmet and the suit and stuff.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Proper kind of comic book type of stuff. I'm just looking at some pictures of him now, and my memory's a bit blur, but he takes the helmet off, doesn't he? And am I right in thinking that what's under there? Is it nothing? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's quite a
nothing
shock,
under
isn't
there.
it? Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
It is. I remember watching it on the Five Faces of Doctor Who. Because I think at that point it had been a long time since I'd read the Target novel, and I watched it. And I remember me and my mate watched it together. Certainly the last episode we watched together, and we were both kind of spellbound by it. It was just this final big confrontation with Omega, this mythical, legendary figure from the Time Lord's past, and reduced to nothing. Only the power of his will holding him together. It's such a brilliant concept.
Yeah.
And I remember trying to get my head around that, how strong and how focused and how single-mindedly driven would you have to be for that to even be a thing? How powerful would you be? And it's great. It's it's funny because I watch it now and I'm probably less impressed than I was as a sort of wide-eyed 10-year-old watching it in 1981, but still the idea remains. It's a wonderful idea. It's a wonderful conceit.
Yeah, I remember that he takes the helmet off, doesn't he? And then obviously there's nothing there, and you see the doctors behind him.
Sort of looking at each other, don't they?
Yeah, which is really cool. And I like the the interplay between 2 and 3, and that obviously is carried on in subsequent anniversary stuff, and in the 50th where the War Doctor's like embarrassed about
similar kind of dynamic as well.
Exactly,
although I think differently, the 10 and 11 seem to get on quite well.
Yeah, but even they have their not at all subtle sonic comparison, sonic waving going on at their first meeting,
The War Doctor kind of puts them down, we're not here to assemble furniture or something. I forget what he says.
And he keeps taking the mick out of the sand shoes and stuff.
Shoes,
like you said about the, the Doctor and his cleverness, I sort of feel a bit like they progress, and each new incarnation probably thinks they're cleverer than
the best one.
What's gone before, and to an extent they would be, because they've had that previous memories, But then it's not an anniversary thing, but when 13 meets the fugitive Doctor, it's all sort of flipped a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And she gets put on the back foot, I'm the Doctor, and then actually, no, I'm the Doctor, and then, they're both a bit confused, but fugitive sort of still maintains the upper hand there, and it was quite nice, in a way, to see that change in the thing there, and the Doctor suddenly not knowing everything and not necessarily being the cleverest one in the room.
Kind of, she's kind of playing catch up in that one, isn't she?
Yeah.
But I think again you've still got elements of that Trout and Pertwee kind of dialogue. Even there between the fugitive and 13, it's still who's trying to. They're both trying to assert dominance, and you're right. 13 is caught on the back foot, but she still has little digs here and there, and then of course. Go on.
Oh well, and fugitive is outright far more, kind of dominant and sort of aggressive as for want of a better word, and
no, she's aggressive. Yeah, there's no two ways about
which
it.
I think
she's
is
definitely the aggressive side of the Doctor's nature.
Yeah, and it was a deliberate, I feel, move to have the opposite of what 13 is like, in that point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Three Doctors is great fun. It's on one of the collection sets, isn't it? And,
it's on season 10.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed watching that.
It's great fun, and you get the gel guards as well, the blobby things that go blom, 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 as they kind of appear in. You get a wonderful load of nonsense about black holes and antimatter, straight from the pages of New Scientist, no doubt, back in 1972, which is which is fine, which is good. I mean, I love it, and we even get a yokel, I think, if memory serves, at the beginning, who sees the weather balloon, which has got the thing, all the energy kind of attached to it, isn't it? Because it's that's it. It's like a weather balloon falls out of the skies, lands down, somebody finds it and gets zapped into who knows where.
Yes.
And then later on, when the doctors also get zapped, the Brigadier and the whole of the unit house gets zapped as well. It's like one by one, they're all getting zapped into this anti-universe, this universe of antimatter where Omega's will resides. And you get some wonderful comedic stuff from the Brigadier. But I think by this time, the Brigadier is kind of played more for laughs than anything else. You know, the old conflict against war and compassion from Series 7, which saw the bombing of the Silurian base, for example, has gone, and in its place you get a very comedic sort of Brigadier who still won't have any of the Doctor's fancies, and thinks when he steps out onto this kind of blasted antimatter landscape is in chroma, you know? Which is a little coastline up a little coastal town in East Anglia somewhere, isn't it? I think is it up that way? I think it is. Unless I'm thinking of Skegness. No, I'm sure it's East Anglia. Somebody will correct me and put me right.
Yes,
I'm sure, but
yeah.
but it's wonderful fun. I mean, there's a lot of pantomime. There's a lot of kind of. I was thinking. I mean, I love watching this one at Christmas time.
Right.
I mean, and looking at it, obviously it was it went out around about that sort of time in 1972. So it's perfect. It is the perfect Christmas Doctor Who story because it's celebratory, it's fun, it's full of ridiculous monsters and nonsense and comedy and that wonderful sparring between the second and third Doctors. And it's it's I think the only downside I think now when I watch it as an adult is just listening to Stephen Thorne, who plays Omega. He also played Azar the Demon in The Demons, and he also played Eldrad, the male Eldrad in the Hand of Fear.
Yeah.
And he just has this and it's just what the script wanted, to be honest. So, nothing against him, but it's a very kind of one-note delivery. It's just ranting, angry shouting of the villain at the end of the story. That's what it is. It's fine, but, now I just find it a little bit... I prefer my villains to be a little bit more nuanced.
Things have
a little bit more subtle.
Progressed a bit since then, haven't they? And
maybe. But like I said, it's Christmas pantomime. It's fun. It's glitzy. Fun. It's glam. Katie Manning's there as Jo Grant. We get Sergeant Benton's first trip in the TARDIS. He looks around. He's like, "Oh, it's real or something." It's funny actually when you think the unit regulars have never actually been inside the Doctor's TARDIS. They don't really know. They know it comes and goes. It disappears. It's got space-time stuff going on around it. But it's the first time they've been in there, so it's a lot of fun. And of course it releases the Doctor from his exile on Earth, because up to then the Time Lords have said, no, you're bad news, Doctor. You're going to stay on Earth. We're going to take away your memory of time travel. We're going to cripple your TARDIS, and basically you're going to be there for the duration. And another kind of example of the control that the Time Lords exert over the Doctor from time to time. But of course, at the end of this one, they're really grateful that he's defeated Omega in a wonderful bit of plotting, a wonderful bit of Chekhov's gun. It's the second Doctor's recorder, which was there in episode 1, ends up being the trigger for for Omega's demise later on in episode 4. So it's really nicely done.
Good bit of MacGuffin there.
It's not a MacGuffin. It's Chekhov's gun. A MacGuffin is a thing that doesn't do anything at all. It's just there for its own sake, is it not? Huh?
Depends. Is it the rabbit foot in Mission Impossible 3?
That is a total MacGuffin. Something that has no point being there, that distracts you from the plot and actually serves no purpose.
And then they get to the end and go, "Oh, what was the rabbit's foot, by the way? I'll tell you later," because it didn't really matter in the end.
No, that, my friend, is what is generally known as a total cop-out. So this is not that. The recorder is there, it serves a purpose, and it has consequences at the end. It wraps up the story, so it's good. And of course, the thing about this story as well is it moves the narrative of Doctor Who on.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say.
Like I said, we no longer have him trapped on Earth. Now he's free to go into space and have adventures with proper aliens again, and and all that sort of thing. So that's fun.
Good. So let's jump forward a little bit, and then we'll go back again. But come forward to today, and as we're recording, Twitter's going mad because they still haven't got release dates for the specials. It's almost as if the BBC only released them 2 weeks before broadcast.
Mad, isn't it?
I mean,
it's crazy.
But it's everyone. It's other showrunners.
Now, Jeff.
But we are probably 4 weeks maybe from the episodes going out.
Yeah, probably only a month or so. As of recording this, it'll be obviously a lot closer when you get to hear this, and maybe by then actually there will be.
Yeah, so this bit might be irrelevant by then, but. I mean, we talked a little bit about kind of the future of the show and stuff, and I feel a bit like the this 60th is possibly bucking the trend a little bit by not being multi-doctor. Apparently,
but we don't know that, though, do we?
No,
it might turn out to be.
Hence the apparently. If it is, they have done an incredible job of keeping it secret, bearing in mind the secrets and all the other stuff that's just gushing all over the place daily.
Well, but that's the thing, isn't it?
Maybe it's a red herring.
Be misdirection.
It could be,
yeah. No, well, not a red herring, because clearly, the Star Beast and the Toymaker, they're there, right?
No,
not,
but
they're central to the story in some way,
yeah.
and Donna Noble's there, so we know that stuff. But I'd be very disappointed if there are no more surprises other than that. So we're so focused on those things. That's generating a lot of buzz, a lot of talk, but actually it's keeping us away from maybe wondering what else is going on.
That's what I was meaning, like, pictures of doorbells and pieces of paper that go out on the social media.
I haven't seen doorbells. Is there doorbells in there?
Not like a ding, an actual bell that rings on a door. It's clearly the doorbell on the Toymaker's shop.
Oh,
but
right.
It's just it's we're all looking at that, and that's fueling talk.
Misdirection.
Misdirection. So. You might be able to hear the fire alarm here. If it keeps going, I need to leave.
It's gone. Fire's been put out.
Been put out quick.
Someone having a vape in the toilet.
What was I going to say? So yeah, if they have got other doctors in it,
yes,
they have done an incredible job of keeping that
definitely.
Secret. But I'm sceptical. I'd love to be proved
That's because
wrong.
you're still grieving for the loss of 13th Doctor, my friend.
Yeah, but
you haven't finished that process.
I haven't. No.
And I'm not being very sympathetic to you.
You're
am
not.
I? So I do apologise.
You're going to be a beep 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 beep. That's what you'd be. But I don't know. Like, I don't know when Jodie would have filmed, for example. And Matt Smith. He's been busy with. House of Dragon and stuff, so literally, logistically, they may not have, been able to do anything, but maybe they'll do a First Doctor and they'll appear on screens or something like that, or
who
knows. So I'm of course I'm looking forward to it, but I'm hoping that we get more than just the Doctor and Donna. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah,
but,
I'm with you. Yeah, we will. I mean, don't forget, we did have multi-doctors in the Power of the Doctor.
Well, we did, wow. and also
that was unexpected. Who saw that coming?
Yeah, and as any long-time listener will know, Colin Baker lied to our faces.
Well, technically, he didn't lie. I think this was pointed out. He just didn't tell us the truth. He deflected us away because he talked about the companions.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it have been nice if they'd invited me?
Yeah, he did. He
without actually telling us that they had actually invited him. He had actually said yes, and he had actually been down to film some scenes. But he just neglected to tell us those rather critical pieces of information.
Yeah, the truth. But that was you're right. Power of the Doctor was in some ways, the Star Beast and stuff will have its work cut out to top that as a sort of anniversary thing. I know it wasn't the 60th anniversary, but obviously it was the BBC's 100. But that was a brilliant way of incorporating the Doctors as they are now within their own mini little narratives. And again, the joy of all of that being kept secret was fantastic. But yeah, it'd be nice if there's more in the what's coming, and I do feel that the second and third episodes haven't really been shown much at all, if any. So fingers crossed for that. And now we've also had Once and Future going on this year, the Big Finish 60th.
Do you know what? Yeah, I must admit, I haven't really paid much attention to that at all.
I listened to the first one.
Did you?
Yeah,
Was it good?
And it was good, but I hear that they are sort of largely individual without much of a kind of arc across it, which kind of doesn't bother me really. So I could pick up the fourth episode and enjoy it a bit like the 50th audio series that was done, where there was the Big Finish one, which was
The light
at the end. But there was also a BBC audio one that was a story per Doctor.
Yes, Destiny.
That's
Destiny of the
Destiny
Doctor, wasn't
Doctor,
it?
Yeah. So I remember
I've got them up there. So
I bought some of them, like Babelsphere, which was the 4th Doctor one, and the 3rd Doctor one, and the 11th and stuff. So I didn't get all of them, but you could listen and enjoy them
independently.
There was enough. I remember there was a little connection between. Maybe
I remember there was now.
Yeah, I mean it was really minor. I think in the Babelsphere there was a little bit of audio that then came up in the 11th Doctor's one or something like that. So do you know what I mean? It was there was a connection, but it was minor and it wasn't enough to you didn't have to buy 11 separate audios to get the whole thing. You know,
I did though. You have to. You buy
I've
one,
got them digitally somewhere, and then I've got a few of them on disc. But yeah, I really enjoyed that as well. So Once and Futures kind of bypassed me a little bit. You know,
same.
It's had quite a mixed.
Really got into that.
It's had quite a mixed response, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, not so much. Well, some of it is perhaps a bit random. You know, why is Jackie Tyler joining up with a Doctor and stuff? You know,
right.
But I saw a few people not liking that it wasn't more connected. But like I said, that doesn't really bother me. So. You know, I was when they announced it, I thought, oh yeah, I'll buy that. But then I thought, oh, it's a lot of money. I'm not going to spend that. You know, when I kind of feel
give it another 10 years and it'll be down to like $1.99 for download only or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I know isn't really the point. You know, you're sort of missing out.
No, but you know, you have to be careful. You know, financially and stuff, of course. And I just thought, you know, I haven't even listened to. Like the last unit set that I got, I can't. I'm not going to be able to fit those in and stuff. So you know, there was a couple of reasons, you know, for not getting it. But we haven't. I was going to just talk for some reason about like the Titan Comics kind of crossovers that they were doing a few years ago. They did a number of different stories that featured all of their Doctors. Coming together, so it was like 9, 10, 11 and 12 in a Cyberman story and stuff, Supremacy of the Cybermen. So they were their own little kind of mini anniversary things, although...
when was this? Was this for the 50th again, was it?
I can't remember when they did them now. I'll look it up quickly, but they were pretty good. Supremacy of the Cybermen.
Jeff consults Google.
But they did sort of slightly end up... overdo it. 2017 that Cyberman one was. They did slightly kind of overdo this.
What was 2017 then?
Well, no, I'm saying it was a multi-Doctor thing. It wasn't really an anniversary thing.
So not an anniversary then.
Which is why I said I don't really know I'm bringing this up, but it just came into mind. But they were good, but it's a bit like with Marvel comics. Every year they do a massive team up thing, and sometimes they're good. And sometimes they're excellent, and sometimes they're just okay. And I think that the Doctor Who comics tried each year to top what they did before, and it, you know, just kind of, you know, was a bit much trying to do it every year like that, you know. So
I haven't done the Titan comics at all.
Yeah, I mean, generally they are really good.
One of them. Would you recommend them? Are they good?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I've done the Cutaway comics, which I like, which are not really Doctor Who. They're kind of spin-offs featuring different characters from Doctor Who.
Yeah, there's a few.
I do
things
enjoy
like that,
those.
Yeah, but the Titan ones are really good. I mean, the range was huge at one point. You know, each Doctor, 10, 11 and 12 had their own ongoing series, and then 9, 8, 4, 3 got mini series, and then 13 started, and then that finished. I mean, it's still was left on a cliffhanger, and at the moment the range. There was a Fugitive Doctor series last year, just 4 issues, and then in early November now there's the 10th Doctor and Martha story that's been written by Dan Slott, who's quite a big comics writer. I have sent that to you to read. Actually, you should have a look, because it is really good, because it's really funny, and it's got quite a clever structure to it. And
I've got a lot of reading material.
Yeah, well, a man of your intellect, it'll only take you 5 minutes to read. But
you imagine I've got time for that sort of thing. Shall we get back onto the subject of actual anniversaries then? Because we cannot forget that this thing here,
if you're listening,
has
Paul's
been launched.
Season 20.
Season 20 a.k.a. the 20th anniversary season. Whole season dedicated towards celebrating 20 years of Doctor Who, and of course now this is something I do remember because I was around at this time. This is right in, obviously when I was starting to become a fan of Doctor Who, and this was quite big because it wasn't just what was on TV. This is, I think, the first time we'd seen a lot of other stuff going on around it. Obviously, with the 10th anniversary, there'd been the Three Doctors story. There was some stuff on the Radio Times and there was stuff on Weetabix packs and things like that, but when the 20th came around, suddenly Doctor Who had got a little bit bigger, and I think really at that point it was almost like the height of its popularity. And there was the 20th celebrations in Longleat. Now, I don't know the actual stats because I don't have them in front of me, but I think they expected, let's say, 500 people to turn up, which is probably or at least as much as they could accommodate in Longleat comfortably. And then they had like 4 million people turn up on the day.
Yes, it's legendary.
Many without tickets or something. It was that kind of gulf, tiny amount expected, masses turning up. Go on.
I'm just going to drop in here. So there's been we asked for people's thoughts about anniversary stuff, so I'm going to read some of these out as we go because they're relevant to what we're talking about.
Go for it.
So this is from Mike Clark, who's at Planet Photon. When I went to the 20th anniversary celebration at Longleat, I didn't realise how big it was going to be.
I don't think anybody did.
Blew my 14-year-old mind. Seeing so many people who I'd only seen on TV was amazing. Only went for one day, but what a day. And Mike's shared a picture of him holding up a very battered commemorative programme for it there.
Oh, wow.
Which
Brilliant.
is good. I've just retweeted that. So Mike, you've just had a retweet. And then if you're listening to this later, that's that. It's a bit timey-wimey. So there you go.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, the bizarre thing. This is obviously what happens in life now. I mean, I don't live that far from Longleat now. I'm literally just a couple of miles away from it. But back then I lived. Was I up north? I can't remember if I was up north or whether I lived the other side of London. One or the other, anyway. Either way, Longleat was somewhere I just wasn't going to get to, at all. And so it's just so I wasn't part of that, sadly. But looking at some of the footage which exists, I really wish I did. I would have killed to have been at something like that.
We need to go to something soon, whether it's a BFI or one of the London Comic Cons or something like that, because you've never been to any of them.
I never have. I've never done that whole thing where I've had to dress up as a doctor. And
you don't have to dress up as a doctor. I wore my special TARDIS T-shirt.
Did you? Yeah. You see, I've got a TARDIS. I need a TARDIS T-shirt before I even do that, then, or something like that.
Wear your girls' one that you bought.
I can wear my girls' one. Yeah, it is. Do you know what? For an extra large, it is tiny. I thought, well, it might fit. You never know. And I did try it on. It's like, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. It's just, I'm obviously a fat booger.
Well,
you know what I mean?
You're ripped.
Good at that. Yeah, I've got some girth on me. That's for sure. Anyways, right. So of course, at the end of anyway, the thing about the 20th anniversary season, it was is that it features every story features a villain from the Doctor's past. So whereas season 19 had been pretty much brand new villains, with the exception of Cybermen, I think, and the Master, then season 20 was completely opposite. Let's celebrate the show's past. Now, a lot of the stories were brand new. We had Arc of Infinity, which featured the return of Omega. So Omega was this time played by Ian Collier, and I watched this one quite recently, actually, and I remember not being massively impressed by it when it first went out, but when I watched it the other week, I thought, it's a lot of fun. It's pretty good. Do you know what I mean? It's Omega, right? The guy that the Doctor would banish at the end of the Three Doctors. He's back. He's back here at the start, and we got more Gallifrey. We see Colin Baker doing his turn as Commander Maxwell, and on the back of that, thinking he would never get to play the Doctor, because once you played a character in Doctor Who, you're never going to be invited to play the Doctor. Well, we know
that's simply not true.
Just doesn't happen. No. That's just not true at all. You can be anybody in Doctor Who and still come back for more, even as the Doctor later on. So there's that. There's Snake Dance, which features the return of the Mara.
Yeah.
Who was a villain from the previous season, so still a returning villain, sort of. But that's great, because it's almost like part 2 of the story, and it's a brilliant Tegan story. There's a lot of there's a lot of stuff going on under the surface narrative. The Doctor spends most of it jailed up because he didn't have a sonic screwdriver, so he couldn't just whiz himself out of jail. So while he's unable to do much, the drama sort of plays out with him not being able to sort of stop things or intervene in the way that he would want. And there's a sort of tragedy involved in that. So Tegan just follows his path down there, and it is wonderful. I absolutely love that story. I haven't seen it for a little while, so I'm looking forward to watching that again. We get Mordrin Undead, which features the return of the Brigadier. Wow,
yeah, that's good. Yeah,
brilliant. We hadn't seen the Brigadier since Terror of the Zygons. I think he was supposed to be in the Seeds of Doom the following season in 1976, whatever it was, but couldn't. So they replaced the Brigadier's part with some other sort of military colonel. I forget his name now. I should know that, but it will come to me. So that was awesome, and this is where we get real. We get the start of. We get the start of fans really saying, well, hold on, when did the unit stories actually happen? Because in Mordrin Undead, the Brigadier clearly was around in the 70s, because it's now quite definitely I think it is quite definitely 1982, because and the story bridges back into the Silver Jubilee time, which is a specific date, 1977.
Yeah.
So the Brigadier had just retired by that time to become a maths teacher at a school, I think, and or was it the way around? Anyway, it's really confusing. So it's very confusing. And of course, back in Pertwee's day, it was always said perhaps that the unit stories happened in the near future, perhaps in the 1980s. I think, is it in Pyramids of Mars? We have Sarah Jane Smith saying, "Take me back to 1980," something like that. So it's never been resolved ever, because it just can't be. But it's obviously just a victim of the Doctor's machinations and time wrangling throughout the years. It's funny though.
It ends up, can get a bit confused when there's no sort of, concrete kind
Bible.
Of Bible.
There's no show Bible.
Yeah, and it's effective.
Which is great fun though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I love it, because anyone can just make this shit up.
Yeah, making it up as you
whether
go
it
along,
contradicts what's happened before. Nobody used to care in a classic series. No. I'm pretty sure. Well, maybe they did. Maybe there were some hardcore fans who would really sort of be up in arms with the fact that there were two versions of Atlantis, that there was at least two different explanations for the Loch Ness Monster, that there was a Brigadier who'd retired in 1977. Why would he become a maths teacher? I think he's a maths teacher actually in Turlow's College, which is 1982. So, whatever it is, but I love all that. I love that kind of chaos of it all. Yeah. And to my mind, if you really want to explain it away, it's just because there are multiple different alternate histories that have all happened, and we occasionally see, the Doctor's been around and there's so much, the timeline must have diverged more than once. So let's just go with that. Yeah. That works for me.
Yeah. That'll work.
That does it. Yeah. But anyway, so we get a load of other stuff, and then of course at the end of the 20th anniversary season, we get the Five Doctors. Now, again, going back to our interview with Chris Chibnall, we asked him, which would you take to your Grand Serpent's asteroid to watch throughout the rest of eternity? And for a long while, he wasn't sure, was he?
No,
the Five Doctors or the Three Doctors?
Really
if
torn.
I take this, then I lose that. He went with the three initially, but I think the Five Doctors still lingered as being, one that he would not do without. And I feel that, it's a cracking story, because I remember when this went out, I wasn't massively into season 20. I thought it was a little bit dry and a little bit kind of lifeless in some ways. I appreciate it more as I got older, but at the time I just wanted Doctor Who to feel like it was fun again, and it didn't feel like that, season 20 until we got the Five Doctors. So it was written by Terrance Dicks. I think initially Robert Holmes had been approached, but was given the shopping list of what to include by Eric Sayward, and then the shopping list got bigger and bigger, and he said, "Oh, no, get Terrance to do it. I'm not touching that now." So Terrance took it on, delivered the shopping list, and more besides.
I'm just looking at some pictures from it. Yeah, it's a great story. It was just, it's so much fun, and like I was saying earlier, the way they incorporated 4, even with Tom not wanting to do it, was really nice. I get slightly blinded by the.
You got sun shining on your face, Jeff. I can see it.
So there's a couple of comments here. about the Five Doctors. So Max Blake, who is our Magic the Gathering expert friend, the Five Doctors was one of my first classic stories, and I'll defend it profusely. Do people not like it?
Oh, people love it.
Yeah.
How can you not love it?
Yeah, Max says you must have met the wrong people. Because of my perspective, some things such as Herndl that were contentious are not an issue, and it portrays the other Doctors perfectly. So it's Richard Herndl, isn't it? He was brought in to take the place of
William
Hartnell because he was... He
passed away.
Oh, he had passed away at that point. Yeah, I was going to say he was too ill to do it.
Not long after the Three Doctors, I think.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the kind of recasting of stuff? I know Big Finish do it sort of, a fair bit, like having Elizabeth Sladen's daughter, play her on audio and stuff, play Sarah Jane and stuff. I mean, kind of, I don't know really. Does it bother me?
I mean, they can't. You're not going to resurrect William Hartnell.
Too expensive.
So the decision is: do you have the first Doctor in it
or not? Yeah, and I think to be able to do it, that's the right move.
I didn't have any issues. No. I mean, I was quite young, so I wasn't one of those kind of hardcore,
you maybe
angsty fans in their late teens and early 20s who are probably the ones who probably kick off about this kind of stuff. So
it doesn't
that wasn't me. I just watched it and I really enjoyed it. And to me, Herndl was the first Doctor. Again, looking at it nowadays, you can see there are differences. He plays. He does play the first Doctor differently to the way William Hartnell played it, but it's still the first Doctor.
And that's quite nice to do it. It's a bit like Stephen Noonan on Big Finish. He plays the first Doctor, doesn't he? And he does his version of it. He's not trying to replicate it.
No, but I'll tell you what, he does a very good job of very closely replicating Hartnell.
But I think doing your spin is quite important.
I like Richard Hartnell. I also like as well the fact he wears fingerless gloves, fingerless mittens.
Yeah.
And he does take
second Doctor actually for some reason.
It does. Yeah. Well, this is the thing actually, because Richard Herndl's first Doctor, it does seem much more of a combination of all the others. He seems to be much more aware that he's got future selves, and more, and is still willing to take charge. He takes charge of the young crew inside the TARDIS.
Well,
so he's got kind of he's paired up with Tegan, which is brilliant because you got spiky, no nonsense Tegan with sort of spiky, no nonsense first Doctor, and where Tegan gives it to the fifth Doctor, who'd kind of maybe just turn his back, walk away, or just tell it to shut up, or go, oh look at that interesting thing over there. The first Doctor gives it back to Tegan. And actually sort of takes ownership of that relationship.
Well, maybe
it's a lot of fun.
The first Doctor is, aware here of, the fugitive and the other timeless Doctors before.
Who knows the truth of it? But of course, the thing is, Terrance Dicks, who's the master at writing for Doctor Who, and he always said, you just write for the Doctor.
Yeah.
So the lines he gave to the first Doctor, it's all there.
Yeah.
It's there in the dialogue. I'm not trying to cheapen Richard Herndl at all because he obviously brought himself to it. But in a way, as long as somebody there looks like the first Doctor and can deliver those lines with the kind of authority and cheeky quirkiness that he had, then that Hartnell had, then great. You pretty much got it.
Yeah. I was going to say something there.
Sorry, mate.
It's gone.
It's gone. It'll come back to you. If it was good enough, it will come back.
It probably won't.
So the Five Doctors, we get. We get some great moments. So we've got. We got the second Doctor meeting up with the Brigadier at Unit. Again, Patrick Troughton comes into it, breaking the laws of time or bending them slightly.
He can't stay long, can he?
He can't stay long. He's Zodin the Terrible, or something's referenced as well. And the Brigadier's like, "Who's that? Oh yeah, she was ahead of your time," or something. But just that little throwaway line has kind of spawned a whole bunch of like spin-off stories with Zodin the Terrible. I can't remember, was it Zodin the Terrible, Zodin the something, which is great fun. And so you get the pairing of the Brigadier and the second Doctor, which is brilliant because we need more of that. We get the third Doctor reunited with Sarah Jane Smith. giving her stage directions. Put your leg over there, put that's it, hold that, now move, do this, do that, as he's trying to get across the thing. We get Tom Baker reduced to a kind of wibbly statue waxwork thing as he's kind of caught. Actually, no, it's not the statue, is it? It is literally a freeze frame from Sharda, like you said.
But then
that's it.
That's him in the publicity shots. I mean, like, imagine trying to do that today.
It's the waxwork in the publicity shots. And then, of course, we get the Fifth Doctor. And I love the Fifth Doctor in this, is particularly towards the end, because he's kind of exasperated by the others. It's like he's just had enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
he's a bit embarrassed, probably.
That's what I love about the Fifth Doctor, right? I mean, again, just going back to the Arc of Infinity for a second, right? So at the end of the previous season, the Doctor had said goodbye to Tegan, right? He dropped her off at Heathrow. She got on a plane. That's it. Bye, Tegan. Off you go. Right, then, according to Big Finish, a whole bunch of stuff happens with just him and Nyssa alone, right? And then, of course, the first story in season 20, Arc of Infinity, Tegan's back, right? But, not initially as a companion of the Doctor. She's a cousin of somebody else in the story who's got shit happening to him, right? And but then, of course, she's reunited with the Doctor. She's been fired from her job as an airline stewardess, and now she's free to jump back on board. And Peter Davison's face is like, and this is like hugging her. Like, oh yeah, Doctor, won't that be great? And Peter Davison's just like,
Yeah.
Just for a brief second before the titles crash in, he just looks so downtrodden, so crestfallen that he's going to have Tegan back on board. I mean, it's just, I love it. I love that TARDIS crew so much. Honestly, I think they're great.
Really good stuff on Big Finish as well. With
yeah. But of course, so your memories of the Five Doctors. Then, when did you first see this? As a much younger fellow.
Well, no, I wasn't much younger. I think the first time I've seen it properly was no, it wasn't on the collection. I had it on DVD, so I've seen it. I watched it on the collection, fairly recently. I don't remember when I bought it on DVD.
But it was on DVD, VHS, because it was out on a video,
it
wasn't
VHS. It was DVD. And like I said before, I was buying a few around the time of the 50th. Because there was quite a push on them and stuff, like there is at the moment. There's a lot of the little dedicated sections in the shops and stuff. So yeah, I watched it first, back then, and I remember this is the one with the silver gimp-suited robot thing, isn't it?
The Raston warrior robot, is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
I mean, if that's your definition of a gimp suit, then,
Well, is that what you call it? A morph suit?
I don't know, it's just a kind of silver one piece with a blank head, isn't it?
Well, sorry, this sun is really like, it's blowing my face out.
Have you got like a blind or a curtain?
Yeah,
or,
give me a second.
Something to kind of hold over your eyes. Create shadow upon your massive forehead.
There we go. That's better.
Look at that. There you go.
Yeah, and it jumps around, doesn't it? Does it make a silly noise when it jumps?
It goes.
That's it. Yeah.
As it fires arrows and things, and it goes. And then. I mean, it basically. It takes out a whole bunch of Cybermen, doesn't it? Which is brilliant. I love all that.
I was thinking it'd be quite cool to see that again in a an updated the suit is a silver gimp suit, but it's a whole different adventure.
I think it's just a lycra bodysuit.
Yeah, right? But like to do it like with like T1000 morphing effects or something.
Oh, I see. Well, yeah, it's probably supposed to be a bit like that, but on the BBC budget, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a guy
sort of disappears and everything else.
But, there's a couple more comments here about the Five Doctors. So.
Go for it.
One from Ian McCardell, who is from
Cultbox
TV, and who's always very good at featuring us on their podcast roundup. I have fond memories of the Five Doctors sitting as close to the TV as I was allowed and scowling at my grown-up oldest brother who'd come home and wanted to know what was happening. I'd flicked through the first pages of the Target book however, in a bookshop.
Oh, yes! That came out like the day before, I think.
Did it? Yeah, see, that happens sometimes, doesn't it? Bit of a tangent, like I used to buy quite a few film novels and stuff, and the adaptation and stuff, and sometimes the book would have bits in it that were different to what the final film had because it was based off an earlier script draft or something like that, and occasionally they end up coming out earlier than the actual thing.
No, you're right. I remember this one because I was on my way to school and I got off the bus. I was a little bit early and I just went into WH Smith's and I saw it there, and it's a really nice silver cover. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to buy it. And I spent my dinner money just buying it, so I didn't eat that day. But what I did was I went like I was like, oh my God, I've got the 5 Doctors, and it was due to be on later that day,
right.
and it sort of tied into the end of. They had a big Blue Peter thing, and on Blue Peter, and I think literally Blue Peter finished, and then the 5 Doctors started. The full 90 minutes. It was so special.
Magic,
It was fabulous. It just really, really felt like something to sit down and watch that on that cold November evening.
Yeah, that's cool. Jason, who's at Doctor Who Novel, says 5 Doctors has a valid claim to being the GOAT, which is greatest of all time.
Greatest of all time, yes.
I did 3 episodes of Doctor Who literature on the subject.
Oh, did he? That's his podcast, isn't it? Which is brilliant, by the way. Very highly recommended to anybody who likes an in-depth kind of essay on some of the best Target novels, or any of them, actually.
He also says, Day of the Doctor...
Can I get my check now?
Yeah, send it to Paul. Day of the Doctor desperately wants to be 5 Doctors when it grows up, kind of dull and disjointed on rewatch. And then my favourite bit here, 3 Doctors was basically the 8th anniversary special filmed in early 72. So
there you go.
It was
Yes.
8th anniversary special, released on the 9th anniversary for the 10th anniversary.
But it's the 10th series. They're celebrating 10 series of Doctor Who, not the actual day.
Yeah.
Let's just go with that. So
from there, let's go to Day of the Doctor.
Wait!
Oh,
I'm not finished.
that was loud.
I just want to say, right, as well. Now, the 5 Doctors is another story which pushes along the narrative, because we get introduced to a whole bunch of mythology, Time Lord mythology on this. We get the Dark Days of Gallifrey. We get more stuff about Rassilon, who we'd kind of seen a little bit of. We'd been referred to with all the paraphernalia in the Deadly Assassin. The sash of Rassilon, the key of Rassilon, and in the Invasion of Time. So we get more of that, and we get actual Rassilon himself in the whole tomb thing at the end. He who wins shall lose, and he who lose shall win, or whatever it is. That whole thing. So we get a whole bunch of Gallifreyan Dark Days. A whole history of Time Lords, which hint that go more into the fact that Time Lords, there was more to them. They're not such a bunch of beneficiary, godlike wonders that they might like to paint themselves as. And Terence is brilliant at that. He gives the Doctor the Lord Presidency of Gallifrey, which comes back quite a few times a bit later on. But again, it's another anniversary story which, while celebrating the show's past, also looks very much ahead to its future. Again, builds on what we know with a lot of new stuff that powers it forward. Even the 25th anniversary story, Remembrance of the Daleks, which I just want to mention very, very briefly, does the same kind of thing. It sort of disrupts the narrative slightly. We get the Doctor back at Coal Hill fighting Daleks. We get the Hand of Omega, which obviously has a history. Omega's thing going right back through the 5 through the 20th and the 10th anniversaries. But it gives the 7th Doctor a bit more mystery. It puts the question mark back into Doctor Who, whereas the likes of the Deadly Assassin and the 5 Doctors perhaps answer a lot of that. The 25th anniversary moves it forward by putting a lot of that stuff. Not so much, it doesn't denigrate it, but it questions what we think we know about the Doctor. So it's interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's good that they move it forward, and they're they might be anniversary celebrations for the sake of it, but they've made it not just a sort of cash in, I guess, by having actually kind of do something narratively and moving the characters forward. So I do like that aspect of them. Let's go forward again now.
Yes, let's do that now.
Look at Day of the Doctor. So that was a mad time there.
It was, wasn't it?
There was. Do you remember that fantastic trailer that sort of moved through like still imagery and sort of like cutouts of all the other Doctors and stuff, and then it ended up with...
Oh, yes.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I do remember.
And it was filmed with mannequins and models and stuff like that, and absolutely superb. And it ends with Matt standing in like Grand Canyon or something random.
Something like that.
And he holds his Sonic up, and then this like banging version of the theme tune starts, and then it was never heard of again, that version. And I went to the 50th celebration event. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I went on the Saturday. And you could have watched Day of the Doctor there in the evening, but somehow I didn't. I wasn't able to do that. I couldn't get the ticket, or there was something anyway. So I went
something going on.
Yeah, something happened, and I went to the View Cinema nearby, near the XL, to watch it. And it was fantastic being in the cinema, with all the other fans and stuff. And when Capaldi's eyebrows turned up, everyone cheered because obviously we knew he was coming. And
all 12 of them.
Yeah. A brilliant moment, and Tom Baker turned up, got a big round of applause. So there's a couple of comments here from people about it. Orinoco McGee at Deadly Night. I just remember being a big ball of excitement. The 50th anniversary was amazing. I even watched the after party. Well, someone had to.
I saw a bit of that.
Let's not talk about that. I cannot wait to see the 60th, and we'll probably need CPR after the insane 3-episode bonanza. Looking forward to some epic Doctor and Donna shenanigans. I've missed them. Chat Tsunami said, I went to see it in the cinema and it was fantastic. It was such a good experience seeing it alongside a crowd of Whovians. And then I'm just going to go back because Ian McCardell also said the Day of the Doctor was a real treat. Saw the transmission in a London pub with fans. For me, it captures that same celebratory spirit. Attack Eyebrows and Eccleston's brief clip both got roars of approval. And then went to see it in 3D with his eldest child as well. It was really fantastic. And Moffat said something like, the stories often happen to the Doctor and they're not often about the Doctor, and he wanted to make Day of the Doctor about the Doctor. Also, I think, looking back, were we lucky to get it? I mean, yes, because we're lucky to get any Doctor Who because it's all so good. But at one point, Moffat was having to write a draft with just Clara in it because nobody else was under contract, and they didn't know what they were going to be able to do. I mean, I'd have taken a 50th of Clara, celebration.
Of course you would.
That would have been fine by me. But it could have been very different. Obviously they got Matt to stay on, and he tried to sweet talk Eccleston, but he wouldn't go for it, and so. It was a lot of fun, and again the way they brought in the classic Doctors with the TARDIS, that was a real kind of goosebump punch the air moment, and using the old clips of them on the little hologram things in the war room and stuff.
Just get them represented.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was a real special time. That the celebration event was superb, and it's a shame we haven't had one this year. For the 60th, but. I don't know.
But 50 years is special, though, isn't it? Half a century. It's quite a milestone.
I mean, it was a massive event that they put on. Enormous, and maybe I don't know. It's a bit slightly odd at the moment, isn't it? Shooty hasn't started yet, and David's not sticking around.
We're still in a kind of limbo. I think, at the moment.
So
still neither one thing nor the other. So until we get the certainty of that, of those episodes come along, then we all know where we're at. So we're all shadows waiting for a sundial to show us where to point or something.
It would have been a bit odd to do a massive great event without a sort of permanent Doctor in place. The next one hasn't started yet, and
no.
So
you're quite right. Well, to be honest, I get the feeling if it wasn't David Tennant doing this, we probably wouldn't get any 60th episode at all.
No.
It's because clearly Shooty wasn't around to do what they would really like him to do, I suppose, if he was there all the time. He had a lot of other stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean,
Jodie was committed to other stuff as well.
She'd left, and I would have liked they chuck a load of money at her and she'd stayed for the 60th and fronted that, and then
but then, mate, Power of the Doctor is just so extraordinary.
So
I think it's one of the best episodes of the modern series. In fact, the whole series.
Easy,
it is absolutely right up there.
So that's what I was going to say. Even if she had stayed on for the 60th, or maybe Power would have become the 60th.
Perhaps,
Perhaps. So let's pretend that didn't happen, and she'd stayed on. That would have been great to have her, front the 60th and then regenerate into Shooty at the end of it. Because.
Well, let's see. Let's see how it plays out with Doctor 14.
Because I was going to say,
don't know the whole story.
The other thing is, I wouldn't have wanted to be Shooty, and my first episode be the 60th anniversary celebrations. Because what if nobody liked you?
Quite a bit.
It's too much pressure. So,
I kind of get the feeling he would probably rise to that.
Oh, I think he'd be really good, but it's a bit like let's go back to making your roster of Avengers comprised of people who've never been in a film before. It's a gamble.
And they got the whole expectation, the whole weight of everything.
Regardless of individual talent and blah, blah, blah,
That's a good point.
So was David brought back for reasons, or was it because, they were like, we haven't got Jodie?
Either way, it's worked in their favour because, he's a very, very popular actor.
Yes.
He was a very popular Doctor.
Yeah.
And he kind of represents a time when Doctor Who was, kind of at its peak in this century.
Yeah.
In terms of its reach and its appeal. There's no doubt in that. So, for many people, it's like Tom Baker, was always the Doctor. And for a lot of people of this generation, David Tennant is the Doctor.
Yes. Yeah.
Whether you love his Doctor or not, that's a kind of undeniable, unshakable fact.
Yeah.
And he was a good Doctor.
He was. I
love those episodes.
Yeah, he was great. Yeah.
But then I don't favour one Doctor over another. I just enjoy them all. I enjoy what they all have brought to it. And
same. And I can't bear these ranking the Doctor.
No. I'm not a big fan of that. But
I obviously love Jodie's Doctor. Hugely. And kind of. It's funny. I until she came in, I sort of loved them all equally. But then it sort of leaned far more towards her, but there's not a Doctor, like if you said, let's put this one on, great, whatever. I would. There's no. I don't want to watch that. I don't like that.
No,
one,
stick it. Bring it all on. Which is why it's so brilliant. Which is why it's so brilliant that we got John Hurt playing the Doctor, the War Doctor.
God,
it would have been great to have seen Chris Eccleston pick up the ninth and play that out, because that would have made the ninth Doctor,
yes.
I think, seeing that story. But it kind of just shows you in some ways, and you're talking about making shows in face of adversity, having to make creative decisions, like having to rewrite the entire Three Doctors because William Hartnell wasn't available to fill all the words, all the plans that they had for him. And same with this one as well. Well, okay, we can't get Chris, so let's not just replace his Doctor, replace his character with somebody else. Let's not do a Richard Hurndall. Let's have a whole new Doctor that we didn't know about, which of course sets precedent for things like the Fugitive Doctor later on. And now we don't know how many Doctors we've had. So, and of course that whole thing about being the War Doctor, where it really sort of throws the Doctor into that dark side that he's always had, that we saw a bit of towards the end of Tennant's kind of original, the 10th Doctor's era. Then it's brilliant to really sort of use something like the War Doctor to show it, and to get somebody with the acting chops and pedigree of John Hurt to do that is just extraordinary.
Yeah, and by creating the War Doctor, it builds on all of the Time War stuff that we've been hearing about up until that point, and makes him, fills in a lot of that we didn't see.
Yeah, do you know what's really funny? I've been listening to a bunch of Big Finishes, the Dark Eyes box sets, and at the end of Dark Eyes 1, which was written by, I think Nick Briggs had written all of it, so there's an interview with him afterwards, and there are moments where that story seems to pull some stuff from the Time War. It seems to reference it. There's Dalek time controllers and the Doctor kind of referencing the points in a war which is kind of going on out of sight. And it's, listen back, you think that's clearly the Time War, though it's not explicit. And Nick Briggs kind of explains that in the whole behind the scenes stuff after the drama. So, you get the whole behind the scenes afterwards. And he says, like, I think the Time Wars should remain unseen. We don't need to go there. It's better if it's left to the imagination and everything else. And it's obviously pre-Day of the Doctor. And he does say, of course, I know I'm going to eat my words, a year or so from now. And he had no idea, I don't think. But but the fact is that not only did we see that resolution in the Doctor's makeup, that resolution to all the pain and guilt, that survivor guilt that the Ninth Doctor had, resolved. We saw the Time War, and we saw it revolved in what I think. And I know it's got its detractors, but I think is a bit of genius storytelling. And the healing that it brings to the Doctor, and it allows the Doctor to move on,
it does,
and be a different person. The 11th Doctor after that, well, he regenerates pretty soon after that, but he's not carrying that guilt and that weight and that horror in quite the same way as he was leading up to that point.
It helped clear the table for for future adventures without
and it did sort of rewrite the history of it, I think. But then the Time War is all about, as far as I understand it, rewriting history. Literally weaponizing points in time, weaponizing history, weaponizing people who make things happen. Events, changing events, so that they have an impact that will have a negative effect on the enemy somewhere. It's all of that stuff. So for the fact of the resolution to be played out in a similar way, kind of, it kind of gives credence to that whole narrative of having a war played out in those dimensions, which is quite an extraordinary thing. And then, of course, we get a whole big finish: Time War, Time Master, War Doctor, and everything else going on. So, and again, another story that moves the narrative on, moves things forward. In a way, celebrates the past, has a really popular Doctor, partner with a really popular Doctor, shows us a Doctor that we'd never had before, and brings back the Zygons, which is always good.
Brilliant.
A little bit of frivolity, perhaps, with the whole Queen Elizabeth thing, but this is the height of the Moffat era, right? This is what he does. We're used to it by now, so why not? Just drop Queen Elizabeth in there just to give up some good jokes. And do you know what? I can't help it. I still laugh at them. Really, it's still funny, even though they're crap. They're still funny. And of course, it's brilliant. I love the ending. Clara gives the War Doctor kind of peck on the cheek. He kind of heals himself as well. He the fact he kind of understands that he was never not the Doctor, despite taking on the mantle of warrior and everything else. That we saw in that brilliant Paul McGann thing, the Night of the Doctor. Despite the War Doctor taking that warrior persona on, he was always still the Doctor. He might have made some difficult decisions. He might have let a few more people die than perhaps he would have done, but he had to be there at that person, and he still did. Despite what he tells himself, he still did what the Doctor would have done because he was never not the Doctor. And I think he realises that at the end of it. When he regenerates into Chris Eccleston.
They all move forward a bit, and they have their individual little arcs within it, and it's really nicely done. And
it is. I do like
impressively pulled off. So obviously we've got the 60th episodes coming up very soon, maybe in a couple of weeks by the time our episode here goes out. So we'll be doing what we've done with new episodes before, which is reviewing them. Recapping them as soon as we can after they've gone out, depending on airtime and
we don't know the dates.
No,
as we said when we started this.
Let me just have a quick look at my diary, so that we don't know if they're going to be Saturdays or Sundays. Well, I'm at a Peter Kay show on one night in
Peter Kay
November.
So me and Frey will do it then.
Well, you might have to, or we'll have to wait until the next.
We'll sort it out, Jeff. Don't fret about it now. Let's.
But we'll be there. We'll be doing it as soon as we can, and want to know what you all think as well. So thanks for joining us for this anniversary chat, and we'll catch you soon for more anniversary chat.
That was brilliant.
That was great. That'll do.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Good.
Bye.
Bye.